Even a murder may not provide enough of a reason to deport a foreign criminal. A loophole in the law has turned the country into an asylum for many immigrants who have committed serious offenses. RT's Laura Smith explains.
The right to a family life is not an absolute right, and it must not be used to drive a coach and horses through our immigration system.
Article 8, an innocuous-sounding element in the Human Rights Act, but which means having children can stop illegal immigrants being kicked out of Britain, no matter what they've done. Paul Houston knows what it's like to have your family destroyed. His 12-year-old daughter Amy was killed in a hit-and-run by an Iraqi who was banned from driving.
As she was crossing the road, Mr. Ibrahim, the driver of the car that run her over, hit her and carried her on the bonnet of the car, and she became trapped under the wheels of the car, and he basically fled the scene and left her to die trapped under the wheels of the motor car.
Amy's killer, Asso Mohammed Ibrahim, already had a string of minor convictions even before he mowed her down and fled. But because he subsequently fathered 2 children by a British woman, he still lives in the UK. It's Article 8 that keeps him here.
Oddly enough, it was one of these that catapulted the issue into the headlines, the Home Secretary seizing on claims that an illegal Bolivian was allowed to stay in this country because of the emotional trauma of separating him from his pet. Not quite true, but it got people talking and noticing much more serious cases, including a rapist who successfully argued asylum over his social life and a killer who lived with his parents.
In May this year, it was revealed that nearly 4,000 foreign criminals were set free from detention centres because it was decided they couldn't be deported within a reasonable time. Among them, dozens of rapists, murderers and paedophiles. Separately, last year, nearly 600 people used the Human Rights Act to avoid deportation, the vast majority citing the right to a private and family life. In the case of Amy's killer, a series of bungles and delays by the authorities meant that by the time Ibrahim came up for deportation, he appeared to have created a family. Despite flimsy evidence about his parenting intentions, he was allowed to stay. Yet human rights campaigners argue Britain's status as a haven for the persecuted is sacred.
These are rights that hark back hundreds of years. They're embedded in international law, that we adopted in the aftermath of the Second World War to make sure that we always, grounded our own society on those principles that we held dear.
For a grieving father like Paul, that's missing the point.
What we have, especially with Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, we have criminals, terrorists, murderers, rapists, drug dealers, all using the Human Rights Act as a shield to hide behind and to allow them to stay in the country. I haven't got a problem with any genuine asylum seekers. I don't think anybody has. But what we don't want to see is we don't want to see people abusing it, and that's what's wrong, and I think that's what needs to be addressed.
Amy was Paul's only child. He now lives alone, spending his time campaigning against Article 8 and wondering why the rights of his daughter's immigrant killer outweigh his own. Laura Smith, RT, Lancashire.